All right, we're going to keep it rolling. This next panel I am so fired up about. I asked both of these athletes to promise I wouldn't get drop kicked or tackled on the way up. But we are going to have an incredible conversation with Brie Garcia, WWE superstar. Come on up, Brie. Podcast host extraordinaire. You can find her show on SiriusXM with her sister, Nikki. And Diana Flores, Mexican football superstar, flag football captain, and the star of one of the most recent NFL Super Bowl spots. Ladies, let's sit and chat. So what do you think?
Oh my gosh, it's good. This is my first time being here. I've drank probably all the rosé that existed here last night. But it's beautiful. It's been a really great time this week and connecting with so many people.
Amazing. What do you think, Diana?
It's an amazing place to be, just to be able, as Brie said, to connect with amazing people, just to continue growing not only the beliefs that we have right now and the momentum we're having regarding women in sports, but also co-creating new strategies to continue this. So I'm just very happy and honored to be here.
I love that. Let's start with you, Diana. Just thinking about, obviously the growth and momentum in, mass commercial women's leagues, but seeing the rise of flag football happening around the world. I think I share with you, I have a cousin who's an 11-year-old daughter, and the amount of money and time and all the things that they're doing, traveling with their daughter, playing flag football. Like, she put me on notice. She's like, Laura, you need to know and let your clients know. I'm like, you're 11, but also yes. But talk to us about what you're seeing. You've been such a leader in this space in Mexico and now an ambassador around the world with the NFL, et cetera, and the growth of flag football. I'd love to hear your insights and what you see happening.
I mean, she's right. This sport is one of the fastest growing sports worldwide right now. We're more than 20 million players all over the world in more than 100 countries. And that happened just in the past 5 years. Can you believe that? Just after 2022, after we won the gold medal in Mexico.
By the way, that was such a subtle flex. Say that again.
Okay, so after... that was an amazing moment in time. That was historical, not only because we rewrite somehow the standards of the game, but also the way that it helped the game explode worldwide was amazing. In Mexico, we had more than 100,000 new players in just 2 years, and that just, I mean, it is incredible. It is mind-blowing. In the United States, it's getting sanctioned in more and more states. And right now, we have 9. And this means opportunities, which is the most important part, to me, because the sports is that. The sport is more than a game. It's the gate or the way for boys and girls to achieve their dreams on and off the field. And that's what flag football is giving right now, the opportunities to go to college, to go to high school, and just to build girls as professionists and more than athletes, which is amazing.
I love that. So talking about sports unlocking opportunity, how does one become a WWE superstar?
Oh man, I mean, if you ever saw Glow on Netflix, it's kind of how I came into WWE. It was like and this is before social media, so it was like flyers, and they were looking for female wrestlers. And I remember Nikki and I, we were soccer players, and we've always been incredible athletes, but we also loved to entertain. I mean, my parents would have these boxing parties, and we were like, intermission, we are going to lip sync to the Spice Girls, so let your friends know. And but then we'd be kicking butt on the field. So we had both of that. And when I saw WWE, I instantly was connected to what the women were doing because they were characters, but at the same time, what they were doing in the ring, I fell in love with. So when I saw the flyer that they were on a search for divas, I signed up. And I actually didn't make the cut. They didn't want Nikki and I, and we kind of begged to have an audition. So we flew to McDonough, Georgia, and we had about a week of just filling out the ring, auditioned again, and then they were like, well, we can give you this mini little contract if you girls really want this, and we did. And we drove all the way to Tampa, Florida, started at wrestling school, and the rest is history.
Incredible. When we were having a chat, getting ready for today's conversation, we talked so much about storytelling and how important access, exposure, visibility. And I'm going to go back to you, Brie, just for a second. You're in the art of storytelling as a WWE athlete. How does that influence or impact access to you and what people think they know versus the reality, and then how that's kind of opened up the aperture of you building your brand?
Yes, I mean it's crazy because I was a what we call a heel for a long time, which is a bad girl. So, and in pro wrestling, it was really important to us to keep what we say kayfabe, keep the secret of the business backstage. We didn't want anyone to know that I'm actually really nice. I wanted you to think I was mean, which actually wasn't good for branding at first, but it was really neat because then when the reality show came, Total Divas. And that really opened up for people around the world to kind of have that curtain at WWE pulled back. And you started to see how we created our characters, how really I was wrestling my best friend in the ring, and we'd come up with this story backstage. And it was so fun to create and then go out and get the audience. And they were doing exactly what they wanted us to do. But in doing that, Nikki and my sister, were identical twins. So we're the tag team, the Bella Twins. And I think for her and I, creating all that and really we would come up with it, see that it would work with the audience. We realized we were actually branding ourselves, branding the Bella Twins and what we stood for. And it's just been really neat. It's 16 years of the Bella Twins, and it's been fun to see it come to life and what it has stood for. I mean, we were at the forefront of the women's revolution at WWE, and we fought hard, and it's great that the Bella Twins, that brand, will always live with that.
I feel like we should clap that up. That's incredible. What's a good girl called?
Babyface.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later.
And I was a good babyface, kind of, but I was just a great heel.
Diana, talk about your Super Bowl spot. You were running routes with the best of them. It captured so much attention in the States, but I'm curious to understand the impact of that worldwide.
Well, I think this commercial was a barrier breaking. It broke gender barriers, right? Because flag football was seemed to be a sport for boys, football in general. Cultural barriers. It was probably the first time Spanish was spoken at that big stage, like a Super Bowl commercial. So that was just life-changing for a lot of people, and I realized that after the Super Bowl. I realized the power of representation, the power of giving a voice, the power of telling stories, the power of making people feel seen and heard. And I feel that that's what we need right now. We need our girls to feel seen and heard, to make them feel that they belong, that they deserve to dream big and bigger than ever. And I feel that's what this commercial made for all of these little girls and women around the world. It reminded us that we belong to those big stages, and I feel that was the biggest gift that commercial gave, not only to me, the blessing to be part of it, but also to the community and to the world out there.
Do you remember any anecdotal stories after it aired of perhaps a young athlete that inspired? Was there any story that came back to you that kind of took you and said, "Wow, this was really maybe even bigger than you had imagined"?
Well, a lot of stories after that. I've been blessed to connect with a lot of people, not only from my country but worldwide. I received a lot of messages from parents saying, I have a little girl, she's Latina, and we couldn't make her speak our language for a long time because she was ashamed, because she wasn't confident about it, because she felt she was the only one in her school. And after that Super Bowl ad, when she saw the Mexican flag and she heard her language being spoken there, she went back to school next day and started teaching her friends Spanish, and all the boys were asking questions now to her. They were interested. And that's one of thousands of stories out there that just made me realize, wow, this is more powerful. As you said, this has a bigger impact. Sports is more than a game. Again, it is a game changer.
It has the power to change lives. And when I think about, the WWE rabid fan base, I mean, I've never seen anything like it, truly. It's remarkable and consistent for so many years. What did you learn in that process in terms of connecting and building community? I know you talked a little bit about, you would rehearse, you would optimize, you would give the fans what they wanted. But what did it give you? What were the insights that came back to you and Nikki as you started to think about what was going to come next in building your individual and then collective brand?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was so neat at WWE to connect so deeply with the fans and instantly realize why they look up to you and why you're important in their life. And I knew that immediately this relationship, it's going to be a journey for all of us throughout our lives, that they are going to go through transitions as I'm going to go through transitions. And when I become a mother, a lot of them are going to become moms. And I think that was the really neat thing. And with WWE, we travel all around the world, and it was like the same story in every different country we'd go to, why they connected to us. And especially us as women, I think with Nikki and I, there was times I got to see the locker room change a lot. So I was there when our matches would get cut, or they're like, you have 2 minutes to go out to TV, and we were the only women on television, and they had 13 spots open for men. I was in that era, and then I saw when we started to fight hard, and we started to be like, no, actually, it's not okay. And there was this one time, and I thought I was going to get fired, but they came to us. We had this 10-minute match planned, and they came up to us in Gorilla, and they were like, you have about 2 minutes. Like, just have your entrance be, mainly the shine is what we call it, which is the beginning of the match, and then just go straight to heat, finish. And I just remember Nikki and I looked at each other, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. We didn't tell them, but we said, no, we're actually just going to do a finish and walk out. And we did. And we went out there, we did it, we came back, got yelled at, which I was like, whatever, I'll take it. And it started the hashtag, this is why I love social media, give divas a chance. And it trended for 3 days where Vince McMahon had to tweet, we hear you, we will change it. And that kind of started the whole revolution, but thank you.
I literally just got chills hearing that story.
And I think Nikki and I were just, you get to a point where you're just fed up, not given the same opportunity. And so, I was literally at the point like, I'll go, it's fine. But it changed everything. So it's like a positive.
I feel like that's like, we could put that as a monologue right underneath the Women's Sports House. So that's an incredible story. Now, how has that helped, sort of taking that one position, which then I have to imagine became another and another and another as early pioneers in your respective space. How have you taken that now and gone on to build new parts of your business?
I mean, the one thing I learned is that if you keep working hard, if you have passion, like truly have passion, and you believe in what you're doing, the doors will open. Like things will happen. And like we'd look in the locker room at each other and be like, dang, the struggle is real because there's going to be struggle, but you got to power through it. And I think everyone as athletes, the one thing you know is that practice makes perfect, and it's not easy to get to a championship. Athletes work incredibly hard. And so that was kind of like us at WWE. And even though we have predetermined finishes, we still had to work really hard and just, fight back. And so that helped me and all I have 2 companies. We have our wine brand and then our podcast. But it's really helped me to take that kind of motivation, determination to my companies. And they're really thriving because of that.
Let's talk about your voices and your platforms and your influence. Athletes, as we know, are tastemakers, culture shapers. One of the things that I've learned quite a bit in the space over the last few months is that women inherently make more social content than men. And so as a result of that, we're seeing an entire generation who's coming up through the screen, right, looking to short forms of content that obviously they're sharing and engaging and developing relationships at a faster clip with these influencers and talent with respect to, aspiration and whatever the case may be, far faster than they could ever in traditional or legacy models, which puts the favor in terms of awareness and building female athlete brands. Diana, talk about how you're using your voice, having that platform at the Super Bowl, being captain of Mexican's, flag football team. What does this opportunity look like to you, and how are you using it to shape, what's to come?
Well, first of all, I realized, and I feel that this is a superpower that we all have. If you're an athlete, if you're the decision maker at a brand, that our voice is many others people's voice. That our voice sometimes is the voice for the ones that cannot be heard or that don't have the platform. So that thing, I feel I take it with responsibility, and also try to connect with, on one hand, that little girl, at that little 8-year-old girl that was growing up trying to find a role model or a path to follow, trying to find answers. I try to think about that and try to think what I could love at that age to, the help I would like to have at that age. And second, to be authentic, to really advocate for what makes me passionate and happy and motivated every day. Right now, it is, yes, women empowerment. Right now, yes, it is the Latino community. Right now, yes, equal opportunities, opening doors. And I feel that just makes the work easy because you start to connect with people, with brands, with teams, with the same goal and the same vision, and just authenticism. I said it right. I think it is the core of everything, because yes, the new generations, they are seeking for content. They are seeking for having a message. They are seeking for having to looking for the way to go, and I mean, the only way we can give that example to them, I feel, is by just sharing stories, sharing journeys, so that way they can relate and be inspired.
Amazing. So talking about sharing stories, you and your sister, Nikki, have a podcast with SiriusXM. Can you talk about the show, what inspired it, what you're looking to get out of it, some insights that you've learned doing it, and ultimately, for both of you, and I want to come back around, for brands considering getting into women's sports, there are some obvious choices because they have bigger platforms, bigger investments, some of the biggest leagues in the country, but there's lots of other fan bases that exist out here that are massive. And I think both of you have alluded to what that is. So how are you using the podcast to continue to build that audience, connecting with that audience, and ultimately what that influence looks like?
Yes, I mean, when Nikki and we realized from our reality shows, Total Divas and Total Bellas, that our fans, they were so connected to us. And when that was starting to come to an end, they wanted to keep the connection. And we thought, how great to bring really what feels like a reality show to the audio world. But the one thing I love about podcasting that I feel like we've all connected to is that you get a deeper look into people's minds, to their hearts, to their thoughts. And what's so incredible about that is sometimes I felt like I was misunderstood a lot in a scene, right? Like someone would watch a show and I would say something, but I didn't give enough context to it. Or I would be in an interview and I'd get a question asked and I'd give 3 words because we're, on a time crunch. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But podcasting, you're allowed to get deep and explain. Like, I never feel like I'm misunderstood on my podcast. And Nikki and I also, we were very relatable. And I think that's what people enjoyed from the podcasting. They saw, when we came out, we came right after the Kardashians, and we're like, I don't know, does the audience want this? Pro wrestlers? And they fell in love. I think it was something different for them. And that's been the connection, seeing us be just relatable girls. We go through everything else everyone goes through. So when you listen to our podcast, we open up. We say the good, the bad, the ugly, and I don't apologize for it. And I think people like that.
I love that. Diana and Brie, both, we have incredible marketers in the room with us. We're here at the Cannes Lion Creativity Festival celebrating the world of advertising, media, marketing. What would you like to share with the ad community that they may not know about flag football and the storytelling within it? What would you like them to know, and what would you like to see more of?
What would I like to see more of? To hear more stories, to be interested about people, not only the athletes, because we're more than that. We have to break those stereotypes around athletes, men, women. We're more than what we do on the field. We're more than our sport. And I feel that's the superpower of every athlete, that sports brings too much to the table. Values, yes, but also journeys. And that's what can help people to feel related with different athletes and can make the sport grow at the same time. So it is not only about showing athleticism out there or amazing plays. Yes, that's one part of it. But tell the stories. We're more than that. We have to break those stereotypes. It's not women in sports. It's not men in sports. It's just sports, right? So I feel we need to see more of that.
Amazing. Brie, take us home. As you think about this being such a, what feels like incredible, we're talking moments, we're talking movements, inflection points in the world of women's sports as an early influencer in shaping what the narrative was around female athletes. What do you hope to see in the next year or two?
I mean, gosh, I really hope that, women have come so far in sports, but yes, we still have a long way to go. And that goes more with like the things that people don't see right on the screen. It's with contracts, it's the opportunities given. So you definitely more equality with that. And also, I feel like the inspiration behind these women that you see on your TVs, that we're hoping to see more of on our TVs, these athletes. I'm 40 years old, and I will never forget when I was in middle school. I was a soccer player, and I was sitting in front of my TV, and the Gatorade commercial came on, and it was Michael Jordan and Mia Hamm, and it was anything you could do, I could do better. And still to this day, I'll get goosebumps over that commercial, and I just remember my sister and I were like, oh, let's play the boys in soccer at school. We could beat them. And it was like, that Gatorade commercial inspired Nikki and I in so many ways because they made Mia Hamm look as good as Michael Jordan in those moments. And I feel like as advertisers, when we can get these women athletes and show the world, young little girls and even a 40-year-old me, like inspire us because it's a ripple effect. And it is crazy that advertisement can do that. A simple commercial still lays with me to this day. So
that means what we're doing works.
Exactly.
Before I let you go, favorite wrestling move of all time?
Missile drop kick. Who wants one? Knock that rosé right out of you.
And Diana, the Olympics, LA 28, flag football.
I'm really looking forward
Will
to
we
that.
see you there? Where can I get a jersey? What are we doing?
That's the goal. That's the ultimate dream, right? For any athlete to represent your country at the biggest stage, Olympic Games, and why not bring an Olympic medal back? So yeah, that's my biggest dream. That's a dream come true for all the flag football community worldwide. We are working hard to be there, and I guarantee you it's going to be a show. So stay tuned. Flag football is growing.
Diana Flores, Brie Garcia, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.